Let's learn how to make bread bowls. Now, warning, this is a 4.5 minute long video, so if you're not trying to learn how to make bread for 4 minutes, get out. In a bowl, you're going to combine 2 tablespoons of active dry yeast, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and 1.5 cups of warm water. You're going to mix that together and set it off to the side to allow the yeast to activate. And once the yeast is activated, you'll notice because there is a foam top. You're then going to add 1 teaspoon of salt and 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. Give that a good mix. And then you're going to slowly add 4 cups of flour. Now, I like to do it 1 cup at a time, meaning I like to add 1 cup and mix, add another cup and mix. And I do this so that there are no clumps in the dough. If you happen to have a stand mixer, this will be 1,000 times easier because you could just attach your dough hook, but I am using a wooden spoon in my hands today because not everyone has a stand mixer. So you'll start to notice that after the first 2 cups, your dough will start to get a little too difficult to work with just the spoon. So at this point, I put on some plastic gloves and I went ahead and started kneading the dough by hand. You're going to want to knead the dough inside the bowl until there is no more loose flour left. Now, why do we knead dough? The reason why we knead dough is to develop gluten. Kneading will also incorporate micro bubbles into the mass of the dough, and that's what's going to allow our dough to inflate or expand while we're proofing and baking. So you see here that I have no more loose flour in my bowl, so I'm going to go ahead and transfer it to a surface and start kneading it. Everyone has their own methods for kneading dough, but I like to stretch it out and tuck and roll into the dough. I do this repeatedly for a couple of minutes until my dough ball is very well incorporated. The more you knead your dough, the tighter and more regular it will become, and that's what's going to make it very soft and fluffy. Now, you're going to form your dough into a ball and you're going to put it in an oiled bowl. Cover it with saran wrap or a clean towel and let it proof for an hour. Now, why is it important to proof our dough? If you don't allow your dough to proof, the yeast can't release carbon dioxide. In turn, the gluten won't stretch to hold the air bubbles. If you don't proof your dough, your bread will come out super dense. So it is very important to allow your dough to proof in order for it to create those air pockets. Once you've allowed your dough to proof, you're going to divide it into 4 equal sections and you're going to start rolling them into balls. Now, the easiest way I know how to roll a ball is by pulling all the corners towards the center. Then I just repeatedly scoop the edges into my hands to allow it to form a spherical shape, and then I scoop and lift in a circular motion on a flat surface to make it even more round. This is the easiest method that works for me, but if you have an easier method that works for you, go ahead and do that. Once you've formed your dough balls, you're going to cover it with a clean towel. We're going to call this part putting them to sleep. And I put them to sleep for another 15 minutes to allow them to expand a little bit more before I start to score them. From here, I'm going to go ahead and place them on my baking tray and bring out my nifty tool. We call this a bread lom, and it's essentially a razor blade on a stick. Why do we score our bread? We score our bread to create a weak point in order to direct the expansion of the bread, because if not, while it bakes, it might explode, as you see here, and all that work into shaping it and making it round just goes to waste. Plus, we score the dough to, in a way, create beautiful patterns, or quote-unquote sign your bread. That's what makes them beautiful when they bake. The final step before baking is brushing your bowls with egg wash. Egg wash is basically just 1 egg and 2 tablespoons of water. And why do we egg wash our bowls? To give them color. Egg wash gives our bowls that golden brown crust, and if we don't egg wash them, they come out pale. You're going to bake your bread bowls in the oven at 400 degrees for 20 minutes, and you're done.